fees are all disclosed. Most people just never model all of them. Picture this. You are evaluating a franchise that does $1.2 million in annual sales. Before any franchise-related costs hit the books, the store generates $180,000 in operating profit. You look at the advertised franchise fee, $45,000, and think, that is manageable. But by the time the full fee stack is applied, you are taking home $72,000, not $180,000, $72,000. That gap is not a surprise the franchisor hid from you. Every fee that created it is disclosed in the franchise disclosure document. The question is whether you modeled all of them correctly before you signed. That is what this video is about. There are 5 layers in every franchise fee stack. Most conversations about franchise costs focus on 1 or 2. This video names all 5, shows you exactly where each one lives in the FDD, and runs the math on what they leave behind for you as the owner. Welcome to Main Street Ledger. I'm Kurt Rose, CPA, former CFO of an SBA lender and entrepreneur. We cover small business acquisitions, SBA lending, franchise ownership, and business finance, all drawn from public sources and experience. If this is your first time here, subscribe below. This is education, not financial, legal, or investment advice. Here is how most franchise evaluations actually go. You find a concept you like, you research the brand, look at locations, maybe talk to a franchise broker. At some point, you see the franchise fee, $40,000, $50,000, $75,000. And that number starts anchoring your financial thinking. It is the most visible cost in the conversation, and royalties are usually a close second. Those 2 numbers get discussed early and often. What tends to get less attention is the complete picture. Not because franchisors are concealing anything, the fees are in the FDD and you will see them before you close. But modeling the full fee stack correctly, understanding how each layer is calculated, spotting costs that are easy to underestimate until you are actually operating, and running the math on what all of it means for your net profit. That is the work most people do not do rigorously enough, early enough in the process. The franchise fee stack is a framework for doing that work. 5 layers in the order you should understand them: the cover charge, the forever percentage, the marketing bucket, the required spending trap, and what's left. Let's go through each one. Layer 1 is the cover charge. The franchise fee is the price of admission. You pay it once, and in exchange, you get the right to operate under the brand. Use the name, use the system, open the doors. For the sandwich shop, in this example, that number is $45,000. One payment, one time. The place people sometimes underestimate this layer is not the fee itself. It is what surrounds it. The actual cost to open a franchise location, build out, equipment, inventory, signage, initial training, is disclosed in FDD Item 7, the estimated initial investment. Item 7 is where the full startup cost picture lives, and it is often a significantly larger number than the franchise fee alone. If you are forming an opinion about what it costs to open a location, Item 7 is the section to read, not the headline fee. The $45,000 franchise fee on this sandwich shop is real. It is also a one-time cost, which means it is the least consequential number in the long-term economics of this business. Layer 2 is the forever percentage. This is where the ongoing economics of franchise ownership come into focus. Royalties are not profit sharing. They are charged on gross sales, which means you pay them based on your revenue, not based on what you keep after expenses. When your sales go up, the royalty goes up. When you have a thin margin month, you still owe the same percentage. The calculation runs off the top line, not the bottom line. Royalty rates typically run in the range of 4 to 8% of gross sales, with many systems landing around 5 to 6%. The specific rate for any concept is disclosed in FDD Item 6. That is where the real number lives, not the broker presentation, not the marketing materials. For the sandwich shop, the royalty is 6%. On $1.2 million in annual sales, that is $72,000 per year, every year. And that math runs whether the business is having its best year or its hardest one. That single layer has changed the economics of this business significantly, but the stack is not finished. Layer 3 is the marketing bucket. On top of royalties, most franchise agreements require a separate contribution to a national or regional advertising fund. Like the royalty, it is percentage-based and charged on gross sales. But the economic dynamic is different in one important way. The royalty funds the franchisor's operations. The advertising fund is supposed to build the brand, and the decisions about how that money gets spent are not yours. The franchisor runs national campaigns, regional promotions, digital advertising, whatever they determine is right for the brand at the system level. Your location contributes to all of it. Whether a given campaign drives traffic to your specific store, whether it reflects your local market, whether it features products you carry, the contribution is still owed. It is a contractual obligation, not a performance-based one. Advertising fund contributions typically run 1 to 3% of gross sales and are disclosed in FDD Item 6 alongside royalties. For the sandwich shop, the rate is 2%. 2% of $1.2 million is $24,000 per year. Combined with the royalty, you are now at $96,000 annually going out before you address the last layer of the stack. Layer 4 is the required spending trap. This is the layer that tends to be underestimated until you are operating. Most franchise systems require you to purchase from approved or designated vendors. The point of sale system, the inventory management software, the branded supplies, the required training programs, these are not optional and they are not open to competitive bidding. You purchase what the system requires from the vendors the system approves. These costs are ongoing, they are non-negotiable, and they add real dollars to your annual cost structure. Where you find them is FDD Item 8. That section discloses the required supplier relationships, and it should also disclose any direct or indirect benefits the franchisor receives from those relationships. When you read Item 8, look specifically for the words rebates, concessions, and volume discounts. That is how this type of arrangement tends to appear in many agreements, though the exact wording varies by system. Some use commissions or revenue sharing instead. The point is to read for whatever benefit language is present, because if the franchisor is receiving something from the vendors you are required to use, that is worth understanding before you commit. For the sandwich shop, required software, POS systems, and approved vendor costs run approximately $12,000 per year. That brings the total annual fee stack to $108,000. Layer 5 is what's left. Start with $180,000 in store-level operating profit before any franchise-related fees are applied. Subtract the $108,000 fee stack. You keep $72,000. That is the number that matters. Not the $45,000 franchise fee. Not the $1.2 million in revenue. What the complete fee stack leaves behind for you. One more thing worth understanding about where the $180,000 comes from. When you look at earnings information, whether in a franchisor's marketing materials or in FDD Item 19, the financial performance representation section, those figures often present unit-level revenue or performance metrics. What is included in any given Item 19 varies significantly by system. Some present revenue only. Some include certain operating costs. Very few present a number that already reflects the full royalty, advertising fund, and required system costs a new franchisee will carry. So when you review Item 19 data, your job is to identify exactly what expenses are already in that number, and then overlay whatever is missing. Royalties, ad fund contributions, required vendor costs, to find what the business actually leaves for you. The $180,000 in this example is the kind of figure you might see presented. The $72,000 is what you calculate yourself once the full stack is applied. Before you spend money on a franchise attorney or formal professional review, do this first. Talk to existing franchisees in the system you are evaluating. Ask them what surprised them about the fee structure once they were operating. Ask if any cost ran higher than they expected. Ask if there was anything in the fee stack they wish they had understood better before they signed. That conversation costs nothing. It is specific to the system you are actually considering, and it will sharpen your analysis faster than any benchmark. When the numbers do hold up and you are ready to move toward a contract, that is when you put a franchise attorney in front of the document before anything gets signed. Here is what to take away from this video. The franchise fee gets you in. The royalty is what you pay every month for the life of the business, and it is calculated on gross sales, not on what you keep. Most franchise systems charge both a royalty and a separate advertising fund contribution. Both are percentage-based, both are required by contract, and both need to be in your income model before you evaluate the deal. FDD Item 8 discloses required vendor relationships and any benefits the franchisor receives from those arrangements. Read it and look for the words rebates, concessions, and volume discounts. Item 19 earnings data varies significantly by system in what it includes and excludes. Identify what is in the number and overlay whatever franchise costs are missing before you draw any conclusions about profitability. Talking to existing franchisees is the most efficient way to surface fee surprises and real operating costs specific to that system, and it costs nothing to do it early. Never ask what the franchise fee costs. Ask what the entire fee stack leaves behind after every layer is applied. If this video helped you think more clearly about how to analyze a franchise deal, subscribe below. There is a lot more where this came from. Research the deal before you fund the deal.